This AI agent is a full-time scriptwriter for your business and your personal brand, pulling in real-time news and turning any idea that you have into full-blown scripts. And in this video, I'm going to show you how this works, and I'm going to start from scratch, building this with you step by step. So this agent takes in two separate forms of data as its source for creating these scripts. It takes in real-time news data that's brought in by this tool called RSS.app. And I'm going to show you how to set that tool up and how it works, how to configure it for your business. But it pulls in real-time news information, so news articles. Anytime a new article comes up on the topic that you want to talk about, it will bring in that article and trigger this whole workflow in order to create a one-liner, a score, and summarize that article for you. And then you can decide if you want to make content on that article or not. This is a tool, if you've never used it before, it's just called RSS app. You click Get Started Now, and it'll have you log in, create a new login. And then you can essentially generate an RSS feed, which is a syndication of articles of a specific topic or keyword or a particular web page that you just want to pull data from. And so the way that we set it up is that we have just brought in any sort of New York Times article that is related to technology. It's a very broad topic. So for you, if you have a specific niche that you want to target for your content creation, then you can put in that topic. You can put in that topic here as a keyword. If it's crypto or if it's AI news, you could do something like that. This is my demo account. So this is on the free plan. So you're not gonna be able to see this, but you do get a free trial. And so you can try this out on the free plan. This New York Times technology is a free syndication because it's just bringing in the RSS feed from the New York Times. So any article related to technology that the New York Times writes about is going to be pulled into this feed. And so all I've done is I've copied this XML and then I've brought it into my automation. And again, I'll go through how to set this up. I'll set this up from scratch and so you can actually see how this works. But that's one data source, right? Is news articles. The second data source is going to be a Google form. Now, the reason we've set up this second data source is so let's say you have some idea that you want to make content on and you just don't want to do all of the script writing. You don't want to write the hook. You don't want to do the research and you just want the scripts to be created for you. You can do that and you can just put in any idea that you have into a Google form that then triggers this whole workflow end to end and just creates a score on how likely this post is going to perform for your specific audience. So it knows your audience, it's trained on your audience, and it gives you a score 1 through 10 on how it's going to perform, gives you a one-liner, a hook, a 3-minute script, a 30-second script, and a full YouTube script. And then it puts all of that into Airtable, and I'll show you all that in just a second. But that is the second source. Now, this source is also pretty powerful in the sense that you can also repurpose content from your competitors. So if you have someone out there that is making content that you like and you're like, oh, this looks amazing, I want to make content just like that, you can go ahead, paste in their transcript, you can paste a link of their YouTube video, a link of their blog, whatever you want to do, you can paste that in here. This is pretty open-ended. And then this will get sent into the workflow and it will look at that competitor's piece of content, or if you send in the transcript, even easier, and it can repurpose that content for your specific needs. And so you can put in any additional instructions you have here, or you can just put in a new idea. And so I'm just gonna put in, give me the latest AI news for my audience, and I'm gonna hit submit. And so that is an idea I wanna make content on. Now this is going to trigger this workflow. This workflow is set up to look for responses. So as soon as I submit a response like I just did, it is going to be, once this workflow is actually turned on, it's going to be looking for those responses. And so as soon as I send in that response, it's going to trigger this whole workflow and it's going to start. But for this video, I've turned off this workflow. And so it's not going to run automatically. I'm just going to click run. And so it just picked up the answer that I submitted. If you can see here, give me the latest AI news for the audience. And then it's going to run this whole workflow and I'll show you what this looks like in the end. Fantastic. So while that's running, I'm also going to run this RSS feed. Like I said, it pulls in this case, just the top 4 articles that's related to technology from the New York Times. And I'm just going to run that. And it is going to pull in information on those articles. It's going to do some research on those articles, determine how likely it is to perform well or go viral with my target audience in mind. It's going to create a one-liner for that article, and then it's going to pass it into a Airtable database that we have right here. And so we're going to see all of this stuff populate in just a second. Okay, so from the RSS feed, the 4 articles that we pulled in from news, we see these showing up here. As you can see, it was just created just a couple minutes back. And these are the specific articles. It shows one-liners for each article, just to give you a quick idea of what the article is, what it's about. A lot of these are government transparency, auto tariffs, spike car prices, tariff stall, digital commerce IPOs. And so it shows you the virality score and how well it's going to perform with your audience. It's highly relevant, so it's going to give it a 6 out of 10. This one, not as highly relevant, so it's going to give it a 4. It's complex. It lacks uniqueness and originality. And I'll show you when we build this out that this is actually trained on your business, so it knows who your target audience is, what you're offering them, what your key services are, what your messaging and your tone is like, etc. So it knows what's going to perform well and what doesn't, because it has that context on your business. And it also has a more detailed overview if you'd like to read that. And then it obviously has a link to the article itself. And so we have these 4 that have just been created. And then we have the ability to come in and say, do we want to create a script or not? And so if I like this one, let's say this has a high score of 6 and I want to hit create. What that's going to do is trigger this workflow right here that looks for records that have just been labeled create. And as soon as we approve it, then it's going to run through this. It's going to create the scripts for us. And so that's what we're going to do right here. It's going to look at whichever ones we have just clicked create on most recently, and then it's going to create these scripts for us. And so we're going to see that come into this table here in just a minute. While we are waiting for that, let's go back to our Google form and see, we've just asked our AI agent to create scripts, short form and long form, based on the latest AI news for us. And so this is what it gave us. April 2025, AI Quantum AI Fusion redefines tech front. And this is the virality score. This is a 7 in AI, highly relevant and aligns with the interests of our target audience. That's us, Digital Peak Strategy, people looking to leverage AI. That's really what we talk about. And so it gives you the hook options. So it gives you 3 hook options, and then it explains these hooks a little bit as to why we've written the hooks this way. And so why is no one talking about how AI is transforming small real estate teams? It's a game changer for every agent. Automating low leverage tasks can double your sales without doubling your hours. So these are all good hooks to start off your scripts with if you're creating short form scripts. And then it goes into a 30-second script based on one of the frameworks that we've trained this AI agent with. So as I'll show you when we're creating this, I have a document for specific short form frameworks that have been proven to work well, that's used by a lot of copywriters out there who write short form scripts for people with large personal brands. And so we are using those specific frameworks. It's going to select which framework best applies based on the content that we give it. And it's going to create that 30-second script. It's going to create a 3-minute script. If you'd like to make a longer form, short, you can talk for up to 3 minutes on all of these shorts for YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, etc. So you can do that. These 3-minute ones come with mini hooks in the middle, so you can kind of re-engage your audience with some sort of curiosity hook. And then it breaks it up into sections as well and has a final CTA. And then obviously this is the YouTube script. So this is the longer version of the script. And so now from here, you can take all of this and you can just go to your camera, press record, and just say these scripts. If you have a teleprompter, you can literally just say these scripts and then you're good to go. So as I just mentioned, for the RSS, we've just created our scripts. And so we have hook options. Again, we have 3 hook options that are related to this government transparency article that we want to make content on. We have a 30-second Instagram reel. Another framework that we've decided to use is Curiosity Peak framework, which is one of the 4 frameworks for writing short form scripts. We have a 3-minute short form script, and then we have a whole YouTube script as well. These YouTube scripts are about 6 to 8 minutes long if you read them out. So that's essentially the end result of what we're going to get. And that's the entire system end to end in terms of how it runs. And so like I mentioned, this AI agent is 3 workflows. One workflow is to create content ideas, grab them from news in RSS.app. Now, I'll show you how to do this, but you can essentially replace this to watch for new RSS items so that anytime a new news article comes in, instantly it starts this workflow without you having to run this. Because the way that this is currently set up is this will run on some schedule and it will grab the top X amount of news articles. You wouldn't want to do that because you might overlap and grab the articles multiple times. You'd want to just switch this to watch RSS items, and then it can grab a new article every time it shows up. And so that would be a better configuration, but this is essentially the whole configuration. And again, I'll build this out from scratch in the next section of this video. This is to get content ideas, bring it to our Airtable in the content ideas tab. And then from there, once we hit create, that triggers the second workflow, which creates the full script, hook, etc. for our news-based content. So then it's going to go into created script here. Third workflow that we have end to end, we don't need any sort of approval process here because we've already put this down as an idea that we want to make content on. So whether we want to take someone else's YouTube video, repurpose it, or we just have an idea in our head that we want to make content on, we can put that idea here into a Google form that we then connect to this entire workflow, and the same steps apply where it does outside research. It creates a viral score, it creates a one-liner, it creates a hook, creates a 3-minute script, a YouTube script, a 30-second script, and then throws it back into Airtable. And so all of this is meant to be an end-to-end system that essentially works autonomously. All of the steps that a scriptwriter would go through when they're thinking through how to make content that really stands out, that aligns with your brand voice, that follows proven frameworks, that is up to date with real-time news, all of that, and doing outside research before you're actually writing the final script, making sure that there's other articles and other sources being brought into your content when you're informing your audience about the latest trends, etc. All of those things that a scriptwriter would do for you, this AI agent is gonna do. Cool, all right, so let us get into building this out from scratch, end to end, and I will show you how we build this whole thing. All right, so let us start from scratch. This is a blank canvas, and we are going to replicate what I have just shown you, which are all of those 3 workflows and all of these separate tools that go into creating that workflow and creating that whole AI agent system. We're going to start with the workflow to create the RSS-based content. So for this one, we're going to start with RSS.app, and we're actually going to choose the watch, which was the one that I recommended for you to use. Every time a new news article comes in, it immediately triggers this workflow and then completes all of the following steps that we're going to attach onto this. And so again, this just needs a URL. And so this is going to need a link to a valid RSS or Atom export. And so that is going to be this XML that we are just going to copy. Once you go to RSS.app, you create a new account. You can put in any keyword you want. I recommend you try this paid version because it'll automatically set you up on a free trial for 7 or 14 days. So just put in some keyword that you want to make content about, and then it'll give you the option to click Save Feed. You click Save Feed, and then it'll look exactly like this. And then you just click copy, and you want to copy this XML URL and then just paste that URL into this workflow. And you can leave it as 1 for now. Maximum number of return items is 1. That is fine. Cool. So we have RSS. We are grabbing in our sources. That is huge. Now we're going to pass this into our next step, which is going to be to look at the contents of that article and to grab all of the HTML, essentially to scrape the contents of that article. The way that we do that in make.com is very simple. We just simply make an HTTP request. And so what this does is it takes in the URL, we have a GET request, and nothing else needs to be mentioned here. This is all good. We just click save, make a request. That's just going to look at the URL of the article, go to it, capture all of the HTML. If you've ever looked at an article and you just want to capture all of the HTML, what you're doing is you're clicking inspect here. This is all HTML. This is the page. So all you're doing is going Command A, where you're somehow just copying all of this and you're returning that. So this module will return the entire HTML of that page. Now, that's great. We have HTML. We don't need all of the other elements in the HTML. We just need the text of the HTML. So how do we do that? We have this text parser module that is going to take the HTML and convert it into text. And it has a built-in, formula function for us to do that. And so we just pass in the output, which is pass this variable data that comes out. And we're just going to pass that in, text parser, good, done, save. And then we're just going to run this to see if this works. It says the transformer should not be the last module in the route. Typically wants you to do something with this data that you have. That's okay. We're just going to run it and make sure that this works. Okay, cool. So it ran, it grabbed the article, and then it grabbed all the HTML. See that is all HTML. There's so much of it. We don't care about all of it. We just need the text. So it grabbed the text, which is still a lot of text. Again, if you actually look through this closely, you'll see that not all of this text is relevant for us, which is okay. We will pass all of this into our AI tool, and then it will look at what's important and start the steps to actually summarizing it and then creating some scripts for us. So what's important to note about this text parser and scraping in general is that certain types of news that you get from RSS will not output proper text or proper HTML. There are some news articles that just are not scrapable. You cannot scrape them, either because they've blocked automated scrapers like this. So if you're running something like this, it won't return anything, or it's undetectable by these tools. So there are situations where this won't return all of the text in that article, and there are some situations where it will return all the text as expected. And so we need to have 2 routes, which is what you saw in the original build out that I'd shown in the beginning, where there are 2 routes right here at this step, depending on if this text parser step worked as intended. So if it worked as intended, what are we going to see? We're going to see the length of this text parser output. We're going to see that it outputted enough text to reasonably say that it captured all of the text in that article. So if it can't actually scrape the contents, the elements of that article, the output is going to be very small or almost empty, right? So if the output is past a certain size, we can now confidently say that it worked as intended, and we can go down this route. Otherwise, we go down a different route. So we're going to call this text length check for routing. And we are going to look at the text. Specifically, like I mentioned, we're going to look at the length of this text output. So that's going to come in the form of this function. Let's just copy that within these brackets. Oh, doesn't seem to like that. Let's just do that. There you go. Cool. So we're going to look at the length of that, and that is a numeric operator, and we're going to say if that is less than or equal to 1,000. If that is the case, then think about it. If the text output of this right here, all of this, is less than 1,000 characters, that means that it didn't scrape the contents of the website or of the news article properly, which means that we need to do more research, and we cannot use this output as source material for creating our scripts. Otherwise, we can use this material because it is the actual contents of the article, because the scraping procedure worked as intended. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, feel free to leave a question in the comments as to why we're doing this routing, and I'll try to explain it in a little bit more of a concise manner. So let's say it didn't work. Let's go with the unhappy path first. It didn't work. So we're going to need to do additional research. And so we're going to call in Perplexity to do research. Keep in mind, in both of these routes, we're going to call Perplexity, but we're going to call it a little bit differently and pick a different model and pick a different process and have a different prompt. And so if it didn't work, we are going to do some deep research. We're going to do some further analysis because we don't have any source material to work off of. We only have the RSS return statement. Okay, so we are going to call the deep research, like I mentioned, and we're going to pass in a specific system prompt. And we're going to make sure this prompt is a system prompt. And if you remember, I mentioned that all of the prompts, all of the workflows are going to be given to you in the resource hub in the link down below. So I'm going to paste in what is in the resource hub, which is all of this, which is the system prompt for the deep research module. And so that is going to be passed in here like so. This is perfect. It knows exactly what to do from all of this. You can go ahead and read this if you'd like. It's really just going to take the URL, do some external research, etc. Because we can't take in the contents of this text parser because it wasn't valid article information. We can only pass in the URL. And so we're going to pass in the URL, and we're going to say, here is the URL, because that is what it is expecting based on the system prompt that we had given it. And so this is the user prompt. Then we're going to click save, and that is good. I'm going to rename this. I do like to keep my naming proper just so that I remember, because there's a lot of modules here, so I kind of forget, and I recommend you do that as well. So how is this going to be different if it works properly as expected? We are just going to use the reasoning. We don't need deep research. Deep research is a tool that essentially does 5 to 10 minutes of intense research. Think of you're writing a scientific paper. It's going to give you all of that research. It's going to search numerous sources, maybe 20 to 30 sources minimum. It could even do a lot more than that. And it's going to provide you the synthesized output based on what it found. So that is quite an intense search. It does take in more tokens, but it would be necessary in this case because, like I mentioned, it didn't get all of the information from that text parser module. And so I have this different prompt that we are going to pass into the Reasoning Pro model, and it's just going to be this prompt right here. We're going to pass this in as a user prompt, and then we're just going to make sure to change this because this is a dynamic variable that we are, not dynamic variable, but for every workflow that you set up, you want to make sure that you're passing in this right here. So you could just click here, and that is what you want to pass. And so let me just call this research, and then you do want to make sure that this is set up as the fallback. This is the fallback. So if it doesn't go down this route, then it will go down this route. Firstly, I want to explain why we're using Perplexity really quick in case you've not used Perplexity or you're not as familiar with it. I want to just give this short, simple explanation if you are not familiar with Perplexity. If you're more familiar with ChatGPT and OpenAI's models, Perplexity is, imagine if Google and ChatGPT had a kid. That would be Perplexity. Perplexity is a large language model that is really, really good at web search. A lot of people now use it instead of Google search. This isn't new, it's been going on for a year or two now, but it is really, really good at searching the web and providing synthesized results in a text chatbot format, similar to how you'd communicate with ChatGPT. They're a startup, I mean small in general compared to OpenAI, but their models are really, really good. They tend to be a little bit on the cheaper end, and I have not seen a performance issue compared to OpenAI. I actually really like Perplexity's models for personal use. I think that they're amazing, and their ability to do outside research is superior, in my opinion, to ChatGPT. So we're going to use that in this case to do the deep research. You can also use OpenAI's deep research as well if you'd like to use that. Just keep in mind that for all of this setup, you're going to have to connect your API token with Perplexity, and so if you're not familiar with how to do that, I can show you how to do that really quick. And so if you go to perplexity.ai and you go over to API, at the bottom of the screen, you can just click generate key. It will give you the key. You can copy and paste it here, and then you're good to go. And you want to make sure you do that with OpenAI in this next step that we show you. So now that you have this amazing AI model, Perplexity, to do all of this outside research, whether you've been able to scrape the article or not, now what do? Now we create these custom GPTs to take on specific steps in the process of the script writing. So you might ask, what is the next step? Well, this next step depends on which path we take. In general, these two paths are really meant to do the same thing. The only difference is with this deep research, the output of the deep research is not clean output. So when you prompt deep research, it outputs all of the pre-output material, which is like, I'm thinking about this. So the user has asked this question with given this context. This is what I'm thinking about it. What should I do here? And it goes through its thought process, and then it spits out the whole output. So it spits out all of that, the thought process and the output. We don't need the thought process, we just need the output. So we just have this quick step, which is just gonna be create a completion. We're not creating a new assistant for this. I'm gonna use one of these OpenAI connections because I think they all connect to the same thing for me. This is going to use O1. We wanna use a reasoning model. We want it to be able to reason, to pick, what is unique about it and what's not. And then I have a simple prompt that I have used for this. And so I'm just gonna pass that in. And so we have an assistant prompt here, and this is the prompt. Your role is to take the output from this deep research model, remove everything that's within the think brackets or HTML looking tags, and return everything after those tags. That's pretty much it. And then we're just gonna pass in the actual output itself. And that is gonna be the user prompt. And that is going to be this. So this message.content, we're just gonna pass that in. And then we are good. The last thing we wanna do is remove this max completion tokens. You want to remove that to avoid any sort of length error. So if the output of this module is longer than 2048 characters, then it will not output anything, actually. And so we want to remove that barrier and allow it to go to its intended limit, or to its allowable limit, which I think is like 100,000 tokens or something crazy like that. So we want to remove that 2048. Just do that for safety reasons. You don't have to understand it fully. Just know that in some cases, when the output is too long of this module, it just won't output anything. And so we want to let the completion tokens be empty so that it takes whatever the maximum completion tokens is as a default for this model that we're using. For O1, it's quite high. And so we can just leave it the way that this is. Rename as clean up deep research, and then we are good to go there. We don't need to do that step here because we're using Reasoning Pro, which does not do all of that thinking output. It doesn't give us all that. We can go straight into creating our custom GPTs that first create the one-liner. That's the first thing we're gonna do. We're gonna create that by going to platform.openai.com, and I'm gonna create a brand new project just for the purposes of this video. And so we're going to go to platform.openai.com. You're going to create a new account. And then when you create the new account, you will be able to click here on projects and add a new project. I created this project just for this demo, and I'm going to create all of the assistants with you so you can see exactly how to do this, because this is a crucial step in setting up your AI agent workflow as a whole. And so once you click on Playground here, you will be taken to this sort of a page, and you want to click on Assistants, and you can click Create Assistant. Once we create an assistant, we will generate our API key together, and then we will connect that to make.com. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. So we want to create our one-liner agent. And I'm just going to put demo. And so like I mentioned earlier, we have all of the system prompts here for our one-liner agent. We are just going to copy all of this, paste that into our system prompt. This is our system prompt. And I'm just going to read this out really quick just to show you what this is doing. It's going to take in the provided data, and it's going to create a summary of a maximum of 50 characters. It should be punchy, informative, and capture the essence of the content. And this is our business's digital peak strategy. We're looking for real estate agents who are interested in using AI to automate their low leverage tasks to help them get more done, close more deals, and scale their business. That is our agency. Please change this to your business, to your personal brand, to your needs, so that it creates some title that is more relevant for you. And these are some of the key instructions, and that is the whole system prompt. That's all you need. This tends to perform really well for us. Another thing that I do is I attach what I have is a sales copy blueprint on all of my AI assistants. And so one thing that I attach is this sales copy blueprint, which is specific to our business. In this case, it's quite long. It's 20 pages that just outlines everything from what niche we're in, who our ideal client is, what problems we solve, what demographics, what psychographics, what pain points, common objections, primary goals, secondary goals, primary complaints, everything about our target customer, literally everything that you could think of. We have outlined it in incredible detail here. All of this 20 pages is passed into our AI agent. So I'm going to show you how we do that. We just click download PDF, and then we pass it in here. And so we upload it, attach, done. That is our vector store. So it's a vector database, and it uses that information to create good output. And that is it. We can use 4.0. That is perfect, but we don't have to change anything else. Now let's go ahead and create and grab an API key for us. So we click that gear icon like I just showed, go to API key. As you can see here, I've done this quite a few times. Let's go in and type in demo key, and then we're gonna click, I'm gonna use this and it's gonna create the secret key. I'm gonna click create. I'm not gonna do it here because then you're gonna see my API key. I'm gonna click create secret key. I'm gonna click copy, right? And then once you click copy, you go here to this specific workflow that we're working on. Click message and assistant. And then when you click connection, you wanna click add. You wanna type in whatever your connection name should be, and then you could paste in your API key. That is all you have to do. And then you're set. You have a connection. Great, so then you create the connection. Once you click add, you paste your API key, then it's gonna work for you. And then you're going to go to assistant. And this is the assistant we just created, our one-liner agent. It already knows what to do. We have the system prompt. It knows what input it's gonna get, and we know it's gonna give us great output. Now we are gonna pass in two specific things to this system prompt, or to this user prompt. We're gonna pass in all of the input from the text parser, which is all of the text in the article. And then we're also gonna pass the overview that we just got from our research agent here. And that is it. And we're just gonna rename this one-liner agent, and that is it. That one-liner agent is gonna create a killer one-liner for us. And then we're going to duplicate that, as I just mentioned, duplicate, and then we are going to change this slightly. In this scenario, it's not going to want information from here, because if it went down this route, this did not provide anything useful for us. And so we just want to get the cleaned up deep research. We don't want this research, we want this research without all the think stuff, right? Cool, one-liner agent. Now we need our virality score. So we're gonna message a new assistant, and we're gonna leave this, and we're gonna come back here, and we are going to come back here, and then we are going to create a new assistant. And the assistant is gonna be virality score. I'm gonna put demo. And this is our virality score agent. This is our system prompt. Our task is to assess the potential virality of a text based on a comprehensive framework combined with your knowledge of our business from the documents in our knowledge base. So you should upload some sort of PDF, something about your business that says, this is what we do. This is our target customer. As I mentioned, this is what we do in our sales copy blueprint. We upload that into the knowledge base. So it takes that and it gives it a score 1 through 10 on how relevant, how well would this perform with your target audience in mind, right? And so it grades it based on all of these criteria on relevant and timeliness. Is it culturally relevant? Is it unique? Is it original? Does it have an emotional impact? Is it relatable? Does it have visual appeal? Is it interactive? And then is there a trend potential? Is it potential for, to catch on with some hashtags, etc.? And then it gives it a score, and it also has a color-coded symbol that it attaches on here depending on what score it gives it. And there's some sample outputs that it gives, which is always really, really important for system prompts, is to have a good sample output. Anyway, copy all of that over and then paste it, and then you are good to go. You do want to do file search, click upload, upload the sales copy blueprint. You're good to go. That is all set up and ready for you to use. Now, when you go in to here, you can just click refresh, boom. Virality score demo. Now, what information do we want to pass? We want to pass the same thing as we did to the last agent. We want to pass the information from the outside research as well as the text parser info. And let's just rename this. As you can imagine, this probably gets confusing, which it definitely does for me. So that's why I score agent. I like calling each one agent. Let's clone it, bring it, switch the user input to this instead of these two things. And then that's done too. Fantastic. Now we go to Airtable and we pass in all this info. Now these are our ideas from news, right? And then we can go in and approve it or deny it depending on which one is good for us. So we're going to create our Airtable tables. And so before I get into how to do that in make.com, let us go in and create an Airtable table. So this is what the table looks like. These two tables are correlated with the RSS feed, so the news-based content ideas. And so we're going to create this completely from scratch, and I'm going to show you how to build this out. So we're going to click start from scratch. Just a quick overview on Airtable. Airtable is like Excel. If you have Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, it is like that on steroids. It has a really nice user interface. It has so many pre-built functions with make.com. It is really great if you're using automations. It's free to use for up to 1,000 records, so up to 1,000 rows of data. It can collect for you. It calls them records. And I personally really like using it with these automations. So feel free to use this. Feel free to use Google Sheets for this workflow, and the ones that you'll download in this resource hub, it's all going to be using Airtable. And so it's already going to be pre-configured for you. And so I'm going to show you how to build this out. So we're going to start from scratch. This is within a workspace that I have already created. I'm not going to create a new workspace, but when you do create a new account, you just click new workspace, and then it'll take you to something like this, and then you create a new table. And then I'm gonna make a new table that's going to look very similar. It's basically just gonna be a carbon copy of this. And I'm gonna show you how to set up these fields And so please follow along and set up the fields accordingly. And so our one-liner is the first thing that we're going to put here. We're going to have long text, and we're going to enable rich text for, so we can't do that there. That's fine. It's essentially just like setting up an Excel table, just changing the columns. And then the first thing that I like to see personally is a virality score. And that is just going to be given to us in the form of long text. Here, we're going to want to change this one to the overview, and that is also going to be given to us in long text with rich text formatting. And then we are also going to want the URL. We're also going to want the URL of the article, which we can pass in here, create a field for URL. This status is going to be important for us. This is going to be our trigger for actually creating the script. So do we want to create a script or not? And then we can remove these options. So it has these color-coded options for us to select field. Is a single select field, and then we can decide whether we want to create or deny from here. And so the default is going to be left blank, and then it is up to us to click create or deny. And then lastly, I always like to have these just to be aware of when we're modifying things. And so I just have the created time, and they have this pre-built field for created time. And then if I mess around with these things, like if I select either create or deny, I'd want to know when I did that, which makes this a lot more user-friendly. And so I just put all these two fields here on all of my tables, created time and last modified time. And this table is then set. It is ready to go. That is all that we need. And so that's the whole setup. It takes just a couple minutes. And then what you want to do when you're back into Make, you want to click create a record. In that record, if you're familiar with how to set this up to this point, you're definitely good with Airtable. You just have to create a new API key, and then you have to pass in your base, the specific base that you want to use. And then, as I mentioned, this base is called AI Content Creation -demo. I created a new table just a second ago, which is this one, RSS feed content ideas demo. These are all demos. And so we got this one-liner agent. Now we're actually passing in the fields. And so we got this one-liner, pass in the results of the one-liner agent, pass in the result of the virality score agent, pass in the result of our deep research. In this case, we don't want to pass in that. We want to pass in the result of our cleanup deep research. The URL, where are we getting the URL? The URL is coming from rss.app. And then create script, we want to leave blank. Boom. What are we going to do now? We're going to clone it, and we're going to pass it in here. And then these are going to change. One-liner, one-liner. Virality score, virality score. Naming this definitely does make this easier. Create a chat completion. Our overview is going to be this guy right here. Boom. Create a record. Done. Now, let's run it. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we can choose where to start here. And if you just click all RSS feed items, then it will run and it will grab the first item. Cool, so it grabbed the most recent article. Is about how tariffs are hitting digital commerce companies. And the tariffs are definitely the biggest headline that is going on right now. So I can see how that is hitting all news articles, depending on whatever feed you're getting. It is definitely going to be talking about these tariffs. So we have Perplexity coming in with our research. We have our one-liner agent doing the work. We have the virality score agent currently working as we speak. And then we're going to see what this record looks like. Fantastic. Okay, so this is all green. Green is great. We are going to come in and see, okay, this is a virality score 4, probably not as relevant for our audience. Not directly related to the core focus of digital peak strategy. That is okay. That is okay, because we just want to make sure that this works. Tariffs disrupt IPOs of digital commerce companies. Yes, definitely. If you are investing in the stock market, it is not a fun time for us right now. But this is our overview. This is our virality score. This is the URL of the article. This is the one-liner. Amazing. And it was just created, as we can see there. So next, we are going to create the workflow that allows us to go in here and say create, and then to actually have that run and create the next workflow. So first, we're going to name this. We're going to say, call this RSS script writing 1 out of 2. I just like to call it 1 out of 2. And then I'm going to put demo. And then we're going to start from scratch on the next one. Again, another blank canvas. And this is going to be triggered by the specific changes that we make to the records on the table that we just created. So we're going to set this up as watch records. We're going to go down and select the base that we are working in, select the table that we are referring to, which is the content ideas table. And then we're going to select the trigger field to be the ones that were last modified. And the label field that we care about is this field, create script. So what it's going to do is going to look for changes in the field create script, and it's going to return the top 10. And then let's say we selected create. Now what are we going to do? Now we are going to pass this to multiple AI assistants that are similar to the ones that we've created already, but these ones actually create the hook, the 30-second script, the 3-minute script, and the YouTube script, and then pass all that into our new table. So we're going to start with the hook. And the hook is going to come from the viral hook agent, and the system prompt is going to come in from here. And these are the instructions of our system prompt. Analyze the provided text. Once you've understood the article, you must use the viral hook examples and modify it based on the topic you have. This is essential. And it gave some good examples. If you were given some text on AI announcing GPT-5, here are some examples of hooks that you could use. They could be short or long. Try to keep the text not above 18 words, and it's going to return the output that looks like this: hook 1, 2, 3. You must use these as a reference when creating a hook. So it gives a lot of examples of good hooks that have been proven to work across various platforms. And so we are going to use that as our system prompts. And then again, we want to always pass in information about our business, so it has some context. Right? As a scriptwriter, it needs to know what we're doing, like what our business is, who we're going to be speaking to in this content. Great. So that is created. As you can see, creating these GPTs or creating these custom assistants is super, super simple. It takes me like 2 minutes to do it. Then we're going to actually call that assistant that we just created. I'm going to call this new assistant the viral hook agent. All we're going to pass in is the overview. That is going to be enough for this hook agent in order to do its job really, really well. I'm going to call it viral hook agent. It is not just a hook agent, guys. It is a viral hook agent. Amazing. All right. So the viral hook agent set up really quick. What I want to do here is I need to set up a filter. The reason I need to set up a filter is this is going to bring and pull in all records where the create script has been modified, right? It's going to pull in the ones where this is modified. Now we need to make sure that the modification is equal to approve or create, right? So we want to set up where the value of this field contains create, because in our case, when we create it, the record is going to look like create, right? So we want to pass that in directly, case insensitive as a text operator. So if that create script field for that record has create or something in that, it contains the word create, then it is going to pass in, it is going to send this through the agent that then creates, the scripts. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have questions on that. But that is essentially our filter to make sure that we're not creating scripts for ones that we deny. Now we are going to create our 3-minute script generator. So we don't have that assistant yet. We're going to create it. I'm going to call it viral. No, where'd it go? Viral 3-minute script generator. Quite specific. So this system prompt here. You are a viral scriptwriter with 30 years of experience. 30 years is a long time for writing scripts. That is a long time. Aim for an average sentence length of 14 to 18 words. Use short sentences to mix up the pacing. You're going to follow this framework. You're going to give context. You're going to give value. And so what? You're going to give the mini hook for section 2. You're going to pique the reader's curiosity, etc., 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 etc. All of these different things to make this output incredible. And so these are examples of a good output. That's what it's doing right here, is giving good examples and specifying the format. So that is all going to be pasted in. And then we're going to attach the files. What are we going to attach? The files that tell the AI agent what our business actually does. That's it. Super simple. Then we're going to call that assistant that we just created. We just made that. Boom, call it. What are we going to pass in? You guessed it, guys. The overview. That's what we're going to pass. And then we're going to rename it viral 3-minute script generator. I think you guys see how this works, and we are going to continue on this journey. I hope also by watching me go through this, you're seeing how you can modify this for your needs, how you can make this something that is even more relevant to your specific needs. If you have different requirements for the scripts that you'd like to create, if you'd like to generate images in this workflow, you can also do that. I have other tutorials. I have another tutorial on this channel where I do generate an image in addition to generating a newsletter or a blog, which could also be helpful for you. Point is, once you know how to do exactly what I'm doing here, content creation becomes something that is almost completely automated, if not completely automated for your business. Viral 30-second script generator. We are going to get our system prompt. This is what I talk about when I talk about the 4 specific proven frameworks. I actually got this from a platform called lazylines.com. It is a platform used by a lot of personal brands out there. It is basically an AI tool that writes your scripts, and you can select one of these 4 proven frameworks: a fake shock, a curiosity pique, a secret value, or a negative hook. These are 4 specific frameworks. And so you give it the option of selecting one of these 4 frameworks, and it says choose the best framework. And that is it. Then we're going to click Command A, paste all of this in, and we're going to keep all of this going. We're just going to pass in information on our business so it actually knows what it's talking about. And then we're going to refresh and find that new assistant. This new assistant is going to do a bang up job. We're going to pass in, you guessed it, the overview. The overview is quite detailed. I think these scripts personally come out really, really, really well because it uses one of those 4 frameworks. And those 4 frameworks work really well. If you watch people making Instagram reels that go viral, a lot of them are using these 4 frameworks. And when you start to learn about these frameworks, you start to see that scriptwriters really just follow proven patterns. And if we can tell our AI agent what these patterns are, we can get incredible output, and we don't have to rely on other team members to do all of this for us. We have something like this set up for you so that you can just have this running. Okay, we're going to create our last assistant. This is a huge deal, guys. Huge deal. This is the big dog. The reason I call it the big dog is because I tend to use the best model for this one because it is a large model, because the script is about 6 to 8 minutes long. So it's quite long. It needs to be pretty good. And YouTube is a tough game. All right, so for the system prompt, you are a highly skilled scriptwriter with over 30 years of experience. 30 years is a damn long time, guys. Clarity and simplicity, positivity and inclusivity, conciseness and energy, active voice and ownership. The 4-part framework. We have a script, a proven framework for YouTube videos as well. And then we go into all of that here. So we're just gonna click copy, paste, and then we're good. I'm gonna use the best model for this one. You can decide whichever model you'd like. As a pro tip, I would recommend using the best model that you can at first, seeing the output, and then slowly reducing the quality of the model, or slowly reducing it to older models and testing that output. Older models are going to be cheaper. They're going to be trained on older data, but newer models, they also tend to be a little bit faster. So depending on which model you pick, you want to keep those things in mind. For this video, for the most part, I've just selected 4.0 because that works great. For all of these AI assistants, 4.0 works perfect. It is their flagship model and it works awesome. 4.5, I'm just using for this YouTube scripts, just to show you that you can use different models whenever you'd like. So again, that is our YouTube script generator. We have our system prompt. We have our information on our business from our PDF, and then we're just gonna reload this. Boom, YouTube script generator. And then what are we going to pass in, guys? We're going to pass in our overview. That's it. Then we're going to hit save. We're going to rename. Then we got all this info. Now our scripts are done. Now what are we going to do? We are going to create a new record in the table. Well, the table has not been created yet. So let's go ahead and create the actual table. And so I'm going to create this table really, really fast, not to speed through this, but once you see how I've done this, I'm sure you can get a sense of how this works. I'm gonna label it like so, and then I'm just gonna add the specific fields that we need. So we're gonna put our one-liner. It's gonna be long text. I'm gonna put in the hook options. It's going to be a long text. I'm gonna put in 30-second reel script. Again, it's gonna be a long text. I'm gonna put in another long text. 3-minute script is going to be that. And then I'm going to put in YouTube script, long text. And then we're just going to put in created time, and then we're going to put in last modified time. Boom. That's it. That was pretty quick. This is all we need for this table. So when we create a record, we're just going to click update created scripts demo. We're going to pass in our one-liner. Our one-liner is coming from the previous table. So that's going to be coming in from this record. Our viral hook agent is coming in from this result. Our 30-second script is coming in from this. Our 3-minute script is coming in from here. Our YouTube script is coming in from here. And then we're all set. So we're going to test this workflow out. This workflow is quite simple. I know there were a lot of steps in terms of setting all of these nodes up, these modules up, but we're going to run this. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to look at this created script or this content idea. We're going to hit create. Now we're going to hit run. Let's see if it picked it up. It did pick it up. It picked up that we just hit create and that passed our filter. Boom. Now we're going to give it a second and we're going to see this run. All right. So we saw this run properly. Green is great. It is all good to go. And so we're going to check this out and we're going to see what this runs like. Here are 3 viral hooks. How many hours could you waste each week? So these are the hook options that we have. All right, so we saw our hook was good. Then we got our 30-second IG reel script that we got here. We have our 3-minute script here, and then we have our YouTube script here. So that's how we create content based on RSS. And as I mentioned, this can run automatically whenever there's a new article that comes in to that specific RSS feed. And so whatever RSS feed you set up here, you can grab new items every single time they come up. So you don't have to come in here and run it every single day or every single week. That is not the intention here. The intention here is that this is a system that you build like software. It runs in the background, right? So you don't have to do anything once you build this and set it up properly. And then once you do that, it just comes in and it populates your Airtable database. And then you click create or deny, and it creates your scripts, and all of it is set up for you. So the last thing we are going to do with this brand new blank canvas is we're going to create the ability to create content with our Google form. So from an idea or from a competitor's video or competitor's blog or something that you see that you want to make content on, you can do that immediately with some sort of a form input. You could set this up differently. You could have a voice agent and you could talk to the voice agent and give your idea to the voice agent. You could have a Slack channel that you send a message to the Slack channel and that triggers this whole workflow. I set it up using a Google form. So you can do it however you'd like. And we're gonna set this up from scratch. And all of the steps with the AI agents and all of the assistants that we created, we're gonna keep those exactly the way that they are. The only thing that we're gonna change here is our Google form. And so we're gonna go to Google Forms, click Create Watch Responses, because this is going to be the trigger for our workflow. And so we want to create a Google connection. So we have to click sign in with Google. There's some OAuth step there that you need to take, and then that will be good to go. In this case, I already have my connection to various accounts. As you can see, I have so many connections. I think they're all for the same account. I've just done this multiple times. And then you want to put in your form ID. And so what we're going to have for our form ID is I just created a Google form like this. And so I'm sure you're aware of how to create something like this with a Google form. You can just copy this. This right here in Google Forms is the form ID. And so it helps this module find the correct Google form. So I paste in this form ID and I just put limit 1. So it's going to grab the most recent response. This is triggered whenever you submit something to a Google form. And then you click save and you click from now on, save. And then we can go ahead and just add in all of the steps that we had previously. So the first step we're going to have is deep research. The reason we're going to have deep research is because there's no background information that we're giving it. In this case, it's not expected to have any background information. And so we want Perplexity to do some intense, extensive research in order for us to get and consolidate synthesized information from many different articles. Okay, so once you copy that form ID, you want to run it once just so that it can grab all the information. It knows what information to grab, so that when you come here and you look for the content idea, you're able to select the variables that come in. And so we go to text answers. There's a couple different selections you want to click, so you want to make sure you follow this. The only question I put in my Google form is, what would you like to create content on? It's a long answer question. And so we're just going to pass in the value of that text answer and say that is the content idea that we want to make content on. And then we've passed in the same deep research prompt that we had previously for the other workflow. And so the only thing we're changing here is the user prompt, which is the content idea. And so we want to rename this deep research. Fantastic. And now that we have that research, we can go ahead and set up our script writer modules. First thing we do is we determine the virality score. Sorry, before that, the first thing that we do is we want to clean up this deep research, right? Like we talked about earlier, this deep research returns all of the think related steps. And so we don't need that. We can just return everything else. So we just remove this max completion tokens, and then we just paste in this. All right, so that is to clean up the deep research. And then the virality score agent, we need that because it's only going to take in the results of this output. Yeah, for the user prompt for this, we do want to pass in the actual input. That way this actually does return some sort of output. Okay, so for this, we just need a user prompt because again, our system prompt has already been defined. And then we're just going to pass in the output of this cleaned up deep research. And again, this is our virality score agent. And so at this point in the video, I think you have a pretty good sense of what's going to happen next. We're going to create our one-liner, then we're going to create our hooks, then our 30-second script, 3-minute script, YouTube script, and then we're all good. And so I'm just going to speed right through the rest of these steps because you already know how this works. Now, we have created all the assistants. Now, the only thing we're going to do is create a record in a brand new table. We're going to create it in a new table called Google Form Created Scripts Demo. And so this is going to be very, very similar. It's going to essentially just have the one-liner, which is a long text. It's going to have the hook, which is a long text with rich text formatting. It's going to have the virality score, which is a long text with rich text formatting. It's going to have the hook. It's going to have the 30-second script. It's going to have the 3-minute script. It's going to have the YouTube script. And then we're just going to have created time. And then we're going to have our last modified time as well. And that is it. And so now we have this table set up specific to Google Forms. And now we're going to go over here to our Airtable, create a record, right? We're going to use that module. We're going to go into Google Forms, created scripts, demo, and then we're going to pass in the output of all of the prompts. And I just realized I missed the one-liner. That is on me. Let me add the one-liner really quick. Let me make sure that is set up properly. Looks like it is good to go. Now we have our one-liner, which is the results. And then we're going to have all of these passed in. So we're going to have our one-liner, our virality score, our viral hook, our 30-second script, our 3-minute script, and our YouTube script. Now we are going to pass in an idea, right? So we could do this so many different ways. We could go to YouTube and we could find a YouTube video, say AI news. I'm going to do this right now. We're going to find, oh, They got a $40 billion investment. Well, I want to make content on that. How am I going to do that? I'm going to paste in this transcript. This transcript, if you saw what I just did, I clicked show transcript, and then I can say make content for based on this YouTube transcript. So we just created the response. Click run. Let's see if it found it. Make content for our business based on this YouTube transcript. So we ran it. We're going to give it a minute. We're going to see how that returns. All right. So it just ran. We got the result. Amazing. So AI enhances real estate efficiency and growth. We have our virality score of 8. Detailed analysis, social media content creation ideas. Why is no one talking about the biggest myth in real estate? I apologize in advance for still chasing leads. You're leaving money on the table. To address real estate agents. So this chose the curiosity peak hook. It gave us a 3-minute script. And this is the entire YouTube script that we have created. And so that's exactly how this works end to end. So again, just to recap, we have our Google form as our way of putting in our ideas from competitors or from outside research or just from our own head if we want to make content on. We can go ahead and use this workflow using the Google form. And then we have our RSS that is working on autopilot to find content from live news and then go through all of these steps, create it, put it up in Airtable, and then we have completed talking head scripts for various types of content. This essentially acts as a full-time scriptwriter for your business, and it is trained on best copywriting practices and principles. So again, that's it for this video. If you guys want to download all of the workflows that I went over, so the 3 workflows, the 2 to get the RSS feed going, as well as the Google form workflow. If you want to download all of that, as well as all of the system prompts that I went over to create all of these agents, I have all of that down below in the resource hub. So feel free to grab that, and it's completely for free. And if you're seeing this and you'd like to have something like this built out for your business, feel free to check out the link below to book a call to chat with us about how we can help you build this out for your business. Aside from that, that is it from this video, guys. I appreciate you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.